Hey everyone, it's Bob here, and welcome to the dark, wonderful world that is my office. So I was doing all the fancy backgrounds in the videos the first round, and it requires a lot of time to figure those things out. So you gotta select it, you gotta key it. I mean, I'm not gonna go through all the steps, but it could literally take hours to render just a few videos. And I was thinking, you know what, priorities, minimal viable product here. This lovely collection of dragons behind me in my office and my knickknacks and my tchotchkes is just a good enough background as anything else. In fact, it's probably very distracting. You're like, what's that? What's that? I'm sure at some point I will bring some of my favorite items down from the shelf and share, but not today. But to make sure that I can continue to get these videos out in some reasonable fashion, this is the approach we're taking. Hopefully you won't hate me for that. My purple hair really shows up well in this one, except for my, I've already got a 1/4 inch regrowth. Don't get me started about how fast my hair grows. Okay. Today's video is about the first meeting with my oncologist. And so this is approximately, I want to say 6 days after my diagnosis, and they move as quickly as they can. Now, I'm going to start off with a song because the song is going to tie into this first meeting with an oncologist. It's a song that a few of you have already requested, certainly requested the group. I have sang it before in keynotes, but the references in this are important to me and it ties into something I need to say. So the song you will recognize right away. It's very important to me on one level because when I was younger, my brother would play the piano and I would sing. So immediately I know my sister-in-law is immediately about to start bawling and my mother will too. So I'm sorry, guys. But you'll all recognize the song and I'm sure you'll sing along. I'm going to do a slightly different version than the extreme rock version, but here we go. Remember, no filters, no auto-tune. This is just me and whatever voice I wake up with. So we can't tell what's going to come out of my throat. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, ooh, I didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, as if nothing really matters. And wow, what a powerful song and what depressing lyrics. So what's interesting about this, besides the connection to my history with my brother, may he rest in peace, because he died about 1.5 years ago. Way too soon. That happens in our entire clan. It doesn't seem like any man in our family can live for very long, which is really annoying because that was always going to be my thing. I'm going to break the curse. I'm not even coming close. When you are faced with your first meeting, something really momentous like this, like meeting with the oncologist, which is going to decide your fate, big decisions have to be made, your brain starts racing to every possible scenario. And one of the scenarios I immediately went through, because we knew we didn't catch it soon enough, was the fact that I was basically responsible for killing myself. I put the gun to my head. I was the one that, made the mistake. And, I don't blame anyone but myself. I did get advice from a couple of people, bad advice, people that I trusted, but it's not their fault. I had a due diligence. So what I'm going to say about your oncologist, the first thing you need to do, if you or someone else should be in this scenario, you can meet with them, but you should start researching right away. Now, in some cases, they'll assign you a doctor, but you can pick whoever you want. That is part of the process. So I went out and researched different cancer centers, and I chose the one that had a great reputation, but wasn't also in another state. So I chose a very good local cancer center with a great reputation. And then I started looking at the available doctors. And I chose the doctor that meant something to me. Now, growing up, we grew up somewhat homeopathically. So if we didn't have to take a lot of heavy drugs and things like that, that was great. You know, this doctor won an award for trying to remove opioids as a process for pain and replacing them with edibles. Edibles, for the rest of you out there, is code for pot, marijuana, okay? That's what we're talking about here. And not ever been my drug of choice. I'm going to be honest. My drug of choice is singing. That and a cocktail. But I know that it will be a better response for me than dealing with heavy opioids. Not the direction I want to go at all. You get so, well, let's not even go into it. It is what it is. So you have to kind of decide what you want out of it and choose the doctor. And he had a good reputation, and all things pointed to what was going to be the start of a good relationship. Now, this next part that you have to be aware of when you are meeting with your oncologist for the first time, I'm going to let you know they're not likely going to let you speak for several minutes. They're going to go through their entire spiel. And that's because they want to give you the facts as they know them. And you will have already been on the internet doing research. Don't do it. Honestly, it's not helpful. It's going to ramp up your anxiety. It's going to make it worse. Just wait for that. Try to put it out of your mind as best you can. Focus on other things and get the facts. Once they're done with their spiel, that's when you have to go into full project mode. And yes, I'm actually saying this entire thing is a project that you're undertaking. And you're going to ask the 7 fundamental questions that we know we always have to ask. Who, what, why, when, where, how many? And here's a tip for you. If you think you've asked enough questions, you haven't. If you think your questions were good, they're not good enough. And as good as I am in my profession, I failed in my questioning. And what it really takes is almost scenario-based questions at a whole new level. Think like a massive set of use cases. For those of you that are familiar with use case methodology, you got your primary path, you got your alternative paths, you got your exception paths. The happy path is really what they're talking about for the most part. They don't get into all the exceptions. They don't even want to deal with them. And they don't want to deal with them because they don't really know what's going to happen, because when you're dealing with chemotherapy, which is, for someone in my particular state of cancer, the only option. Incurable, inoperable. It's just about expanding life expectancy. And that was the only option that they could give me. But with that, that should have sent me into 500,000 questions. And it didn't. And I'm going to let you know, I wish I had never done chemotherapy. It was not the right decision for me. I did it 3 times. In another video, I'll tell you about those experiences and the decisions that I had to make, some of which have been unpopular with friends and family. But at the end of the day, it's still the right decision. And I'll explain why in another video. So for this video, don't get wrapped up into going through every scenario in your head, and don't blame yourself. Don't blame anyone else. Let it go, and don't research before you have your first oncology meeting. Honestly, it was a huge detriment. And for an analyst like me who's obsessive compulsive on top of it, oi, what a horrible decision. So I'm going to leave you there with those thoughts. And your personal challenge, for those of you who don't have cancer or are not living with someone in cancer, look at your own life where you're getting wrapped up into it too much, or you're blaming someone else, or you're blaming yourself for the situation, and find a better solution. Because at the end of the day, that kind of hatred, and I think it is a form of hatred, when we doubt and we blame and all that, it turns into something negative, only makes our lives harder to work with. So find a way of removing that and live positively and find solutions that work for everyone. All right, I'll see you guys in another video.